welcome to Interviewland.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Do you want to give a little introduction to yourself for everyone who doesn't know you yet?
Yes. Hello, I'm Adéráyọ. I'm 23 in a week actually now.
Ooh, okay.
2 weeks. And I'm an artist, multidisciplinary. I kind of do a little bit of everything. Based in Glasgow. I'm originally from Nigeria, and yeah.
Yeah, very nice. So are you a Libra then, if your birthday's coming up? Interesting.
Thank you. No one ever guesses Libra.
Really?
Yes, I've gotten Scorpio. I've gotten basically everything but Libra.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I not give Libra?
I feel like it makes sense.
Yes,
from what I've seen so far, I feel like that definitely checks out.
Thank you. I feel like so seen right now.
Well, there you go. Okay, so first I want to talk about your live performances, which include dance, music and movement. What got you into performance art and what do you love about it most?
What got me into it, actually, it's very strange. When I was a kid, I always used to watch Hannah Montana and be like, I want to be that.
Yeah.
Or like, I was genuinely obsessed. It was really bad. And I never got the opportunity to do like art stuff in school because my parents were very much science focused. You know, you need to become a doctor, you need to do all these things for the family. It's a very different culture at home. And then I moved over here, got my degree in nursing, and moved to Glasgow because I'd heard of the queer scene and went to one pony boy party, saw people like go-go dancing, performing, and I was like, I want to do that. And then I did, like, literally I pestered them for my first performance. I'd never danced before ever. I never even thought of doing that like professionally. I have no training whatsoever. The only training I have is like dancing at like house parties as a kid, like, with all the aunties and uncles being like, wow, your child is such a good dancer, and I'm there like 7-year-old breaking the move.
I love that.
And then I got on stage and I did it and people were like, whoa, and then before you know it, I'm a dancer. And
oh, there you go.
Happened.
Yeah. That's actually quite crazy. That's so interesting. I would have, from having seen some of your stuff on the internet, I would have thought that it was just something that you've always done, really, and it was like just recently that you've been doing it professionally. But yeah, that's very interesting that that's how you came to do it. I have actually seen a lot about pony boy parties. I've been a long time follower on Instagram, even before they were really a big thing, and it's just amazing to see it, you know, in I think Dazed has done quite a few features on it, which is great. I think it's so good that Glasgow is getting the attention that it deserves, because for a long time it wasn't like paid attention to.
There's this like thing about Glasgow being a place where lots of artists exist, but no one of them are ever allowed to, like, people think there's like the ceiling in Glasgow that stops the art from really getting out of Glasgow and reaching other people. So like it's nice when you see it happening, and you see it happening like with queer communities.
Yeah.
Like, oh yay.
Yeah, that's true. So your art combines themes of dissociation, queerness and survival. How do you tap into those themes and translate them into your art?
I think I've always said that I struggle to separate my art from like my actual life.
Okay.
Because even when I get ready, even when I'm doing my makeup, even when I'm cooking, I still see all of that as like a type of art in a way. You're always kind of, you know, pouring out. And I think I was experiencing these difficult things, and I wasn't really seeing anybody else experiencing it like I was. And I think when so the first film that I made, well, I say first film, like I've made another, I plan on making another.
Okay.
I've already like submitted scripts, so fingers crossed for funding. But like the film I made, Dissonance, I actually was gonna cancel the whole thing.
Okay.
Completely. I was going through a difficult time. I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm scrapping it all. And then I heard of a queer POC person that lived in Edinburgh, who I'd only just started following and wanted to be pals with because they seemed super cool. And I heard that they took their life, and I was kind of like,
sorry.
It's okay. Like, I didn't know them personally. It's more of a thing of like seeing it happen, and it's not too far away from you, and you can relate to how the person had felt. So I think that's why I'm so like conscious of not hiding what I'm going through in my art at all. And it's like, it's honestly, for myself, it's like a sign of the times. It's like a little journal. Like I see what I put out like in certain time periods, and I was like, damn, I really was going through it.
Yeah.
I'm like, whew. And then sometimes it's like, oh, how I long for thee, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that's that situationship from then. I
Yeah.
remember those feelings.
I love that. So I guess it's sort of a form of like therapy and release then.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like, even with the writing that I do, my friends tell me to get a journal. I'm like, why? When I can just write it and like post it on the internet for people to see and be like, I relate.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I think like it helps having someone out there, you know, publicly say that they're doing these things, and like you see that and you're like, oh, I feel a bit better now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. And I think one of the things that I really picked up on in your work is that sense of community. And you've mentioned that already with having moved here and seeing that. Do you think that art is a good way to build up communities, whether that be appreciating art or making it?
Yes, completely. I think art and community are intertwined the same way I think art and activism are intertwined. You can't really have one without the other, because like artists, it's our job to, like I've said it's a sign of the times. It's our job to communicate the times that we are experiencing, and to do so, like, we need an audience to experience that. And what audience is it going to be other than our community? You know, we need to see what's happening and relay it to other people, and we relay it to people of now, and we relay it to the people of the future, so they can understand what the human experience is, and hopefully not repeat the same mistakes. Hopefully do better. We're still working on the doing better part, but
definitely.
you know, it's one of the biggest tools for change. It's one of the biggest tools for belonging. Like, I can listen to an album made by someone that's been long dead and be like, I feel so like in community with you, because I understand what you're going through, and this person lived in, like, you know, the 1900s. You think like that's crazy, but no, it's not. It's like, it's timeless. So I don't think you can really have one without the other.
I definitely agree with that, especially in terms of activism. I feel like that's a very important point. They're somewhat overlooked as well, because especially in times like these, you know, you've got the cost of living crisis, and it always seems to be the arts that they come for first, and they cut the funding from it, because it's seen as not an essential in life. But you know, there's so many studies that show that it really, you know, boosts mental health. It really helps community, like we've been talking about. But it's very interesting that that's your perspective on it, because I definitely agree with that. And I've noticed as well with the events that you've organised, that community is definitely at the heart of that. What other ideas were behind the events that you've organised this year?
So I had to apply for a global talent visa because like I said, I ended up like throwing myself into the creative scene, and before long I've become someone that's kind of like, there were a few months this year where my entire income was based off of just doing art, and that's something crazy for me to think.
Just wants to talk to us.
Yes, hello. But it's crazy for me to think, because like 2 years ago you would never have told me that would be happening, because I would have been miserable, just finished uni, just got a course that I really didn't want to get, you know, being like, where do I go now? I can't get a job in nursing. And like, now I've got, I don't know how to explain it. Now I've got so much that I've had to learn for myself, that with my events, I'm kind of trying to bridge that gap for other people. Because like, I feel like with a visa, I could really have focused on just my individual artist career, which I am going to try to do a bit more going forward. But I didn't want it to be something that it was like, I'm going to have to do this hard work anyway. I might as well just kind of like grab as many people as I can, and like we go together. So the events are kind of, they're a way for me to help myself get to a certain goal, but at the same time help as many people as I can along the way as well. And it's also just so no one has to have a hard time struggling finding these places the way I did. And like, if I can help anybody, then
you might as well. That's definitely that sense of community coming back in there. I feel like it's definitely integral to everything you do, which
it kind of is. Even like, I don't know, little things like, I always like to say hi to the man that owns the shop downstairs. I call him Uncle. I actually haven't asked his name.
Honestly, fair enough.
But like, because you know, at home in our culture, if you're speaking to someone older, he's about my dad's age. I'll call him Uncle, just as a sign of like respect. And he loves it, and he calls me his little friend, and he tells jokes, and I always fall for them every single time, and I'm there like, huh? And then he's like I don't know, I go in to buy a samosa, and he's like, do you want half a dozen or a full dozen? I'm like, half a dozen, and he's like, it's a joke.
That's nice though. I feel like that's, you know, that's so important. That sense of community really has fallen away a bit, which is very sad, you know, and especially in big cities, I feel like people don't try and connect in the same way, because I myself, I'm from the northwest of Scotland and Ireland, so I grew up there, I was born there, and it was all very much community based. Everyone knew each other, everyone helped each other, and then having moved to Aberdeen for university and now here, you do notice that difference, and I think it's so important to have that human connection on a daily basis, whether it be, you know, with someone who works in a local shop or with your friends, just anyone really, you know. I feel like it's so important to humanity, and especially with being creative people, I feel like to make those spaces like you do with your events is so important, because a lot of creative people do work in isolation and on their own and don't get those opportunities. So I think that's a great thing that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Turn next to the Garbage music video that you're in for There's No Future in Optimism. How did that come about, and what was filming it like?
So actually the casting went up. I think it went through to some modeling agencies for models that had partners, and I knew someone who was on the production team for the video from when I was making my film, and I was like just DMing crazy, like just DMing people loads and be like, hey, I'm trying to do this, can you help me? Hey, I'm trying to do this, can you help me? And I maintained like contact with this person from that, and before you know it, they're shooting the Garbage music video, and they post on their Instagram story being, hey, we're still looking for couples. I think they were just struggling to find a couple that fit the look. And they DM'd me being like, hey, also if you want to apply for this, and like, you know, you have a friend that's okay with like physical contact, like you can still apply, like send a picture of you and the friend. And I posted on my close friends being like, which one of you want to like be my wife or something for a music video? And my friend Michaela replied and was like, me. We sent the photos in, it was a match, we started shooting, and it was crazy because that video, I don't know if you see it, there's a lot of running.
It looks
it
so
was
energetic.
So much running. It was like it was a 2-day shoot, and it was like 10-hour days. We had lunch breaks inside, but essentially apart from the car scenes, the rest of the scenes were all we're just fucking running.
Oh my god.
We were running through like an abandoned seminary. We were running through Glasgow. Like I can still point out the streets sometimes on the bus. I'm like, oh yeah, that's where we're running for the music video. We're running from like that. Was so crazy. But I had the best time. And like I remember we heard the song before it ever came out, and it was like it was tightly NDA'd, and then we were just blasting it on the street, and it's like, this is a bit crazy. But at the same time, by the time the song came out, I was like,
because you heard it so many times.
But now I can listen to it again, thank God. But I was like, I'd heard it like on repeat over and over again. But it was really fun. I'm still like shocked that we got it, because they wanted a couple, it seemed, and obviously like I went to like Model Team Scotland and all and I'm not signed. I haven't been signed this whole time, which maybe something I need to fix.
Maybe you should, something to look into.
I just don't like being told what to do is my problem.
And I understand that.
So I kind of like having this bit of control over what I do with my career, but it was really fun. It was really fun, and I got to speak to Shirley a little bit after over text. Cool. So I was like, nice.
I love that. I thought the video was so interesting. I did give it a watch, and I really liked it. And like you said, it's very energetic. It's all go go go. There's not really many moments to breathe, but I think that's what makes it what it is.
It's like if you look into like the story that they were trying to tell with that song, you understand why it felt so urgent. And when they sent the brief, I was like, I need to be in this video, because I was like, this is literally everything I feel like I've been feeling about the current state of the world. And it felt like it was no longer being a safe space for a lot of communities, and maybe that's why they chose like to represent like, you know, me and Michaela, because like we're both queer and all of that, so I'm kind of happy to see it in that way. I think that's great. I think it's such a good idea that they came up with, and it's I just love it. So next I want to talk about a post that you made on Substack. There was something that you said in it. I'm gonna have to read off the paper because I couldn't quite memorize it. I probably couldn't tell you. I write so many things, like
honestly
half days. Like I've written at 2 a.m. before. It's crazy, and then I post like, it's just like when I get something.
That's good though. It's better to do that than to keep it in, because you might lose it. You never know.
Sure, actually.
But what you wrote was, do we wish to crumble away brittle with bitterness, or maintain solidarity rooted in collective resilience? Which I think was about cancel culture, which and that really resonated with me, because I've noticed, you know, on social media, people are always looking for reasons to for lack of a better word, cancel people, you know, and
Yeah.
always looking for reasons to complain about something, even if there isn't even anything there to complain about. I was just wondering if you could talk about that a bit more, about your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think it's something so unique to the West, I feel like, because I'm from Nigeria and I grew up like, it was so normal to see people who didn't have arms or legs standing on the side of the road begging for like money to get food. Like, it was common knowledge that many families there lived on under $1 a day, you know, for their entire lives. And then I came over here and I feel like people forget about like real change in like, just they start focusing on the really, really tiny things.
Yeah.
And a lot of these are not make or break. A lot of these can be resolved with communication, and a lot of it can be like fixed. Someone can own up to a mistake. Like, we make mistakes. We're all so like the creative community in Glasgow is so young, and the queer community is so young because we don't have queer elders, because, you know, the AIDS epidemic, the policing of like all of these things have limited the like older generation that we have to like watch over us as queer people, as creatives, as all of this. And I see us like biting at the small community that we have, shunning people, and you get to the root of the problem and it's like, oh, they said this and I interpreted it this way, and it's like, oh, did you think to maybe like explain to them why you felt that way, have like a good conversation, maybe mediation if you feel it necessary? It's just so sad to see when like I feel like we start to focus only on the more like the tiny things to pick apart, like we aren't able to move forward as a group because we're just picking each other apart, and we're not perfect. We will never be perfect. Like, none of us would ever be perfect. We all make mistakes. I've had to unlearn so much internalized homophobia from being raised obviously in a country where half of it it's still sent, like, you can still get the death sentence by stoning for being queer. And, you know, coming from there, of course I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be well versed on the terminology and everything. And I took so much time to learn, and I had friends who sat with me during this process, and I'm so glad for them. But I feel like if I was in that stage now that I've got a bit of a public career, or, you know, a performance, like, or a status in the community or whatever, I just feel like I would have been ripped to shreds many times, and I wouldn't have been allowed that chance to grow. And we really need to let people grow.
Sorry, I just got distracted by that dog over there. Oh,
so cute.
But yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I think there's such a tendency to have a sort of a knee-jerk reaction and not give the space for people to explain themselves or try and correct it in any way really at all, especially with social media. You know, I feel like for a lot of older generations they didn't have that pressure, and now it's in every part of life.
It is.
Yes. Yeah, especially for creative people. And I actually wanted to talk to you about the concept of finding your niche, which is a big thing on social media.
Oh, I don't think it's true.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's such a strange thing because it stifles creativity. You know, you should be allowed to look into all different avenues and explore anything you want to explore without having to, you know, label it or put it in a box or package it in a certain way. So do you think that that's something that you've maybe battled with, being a multidisciplinary artist?
Oh yeah, so many times. People keep pressuring like creatives to stick to one thing. Yeah. And I feel like that could stifle creativity so much. I like being able to move between the disciplines and blend them as well, because it's fun. It's the whole thing about art is like having fun, and like at the end of the day, when I'm painting, I'm just throwing colors at a canvas. You know what I mean? If I'm dancing, I am just moving crazy to some music. It's not that serious where it has to be like, no, you have to follow these rules and you can only do this thing. I feel like it's just silly. We don't need to force people to do anything, and people should be allowed to like make art in whatever form they choose, and they should be allowed to make bad art.
Yeah, definitely. That's how you get to the good stuff. You have to experiment and try everything and make those mistakes, and just do as much as you can, and then you'll eventually get to what you want to make. So I definitely agree with that. I think it's such an interesting concept, and it's definitely a word that's thrown around a lot, especially with social media. And I just think it's such a shame that a lot of people do force themselves into those boxes so that they can get a bigger audience, not necessarily even the audience that they want. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting concept, and I do agree with you on that.
It is. I think it's something that actually just tells to how much skepticism there is around everything we do lately. Like, I feel like everyone's always just watching and picking apart everything. And it goes like it goes into the community, it goes into the art we make, it goes into the art we consume, experience, all of that. It's just it's on all levels.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I refuse to be like held back by that, because I don't like it. So why will I take part in a system or a culture that I don't like?
Yeah.
I don't like being told what to do. It's why I moved away from a homophobic country. I don't like being told. That's why I stopped speaking to my parents when they wanted me to, like, if I can do that for like literally leaving the entire place I was raised 16 years.
Yeah.
I will. I'm not listening to anyone telling me to do a certain thing over here. And it's like, oh, we think you should focus on dancing instead because you have more experience there. No, I want to make music.
Yeah, exactly.
and I want to paint, and I want to sing and do all of that and do my events when I'm not burnt out.
Yes, of course, yeah. It's definitely important to take that time off. Yeah, as I think we mentioned that before we started filming. Being a creative, you don't have the space to shut off as much as you do with the 9 to 5.
So why am I checking my emails at 6:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
And I'm checking them till I go to bed. I should stop doing that. And I tried. I deleted the email app from my phone, and then I got really bad anxiety, and I re-downloaded it.
Yeah, I relate to that. I know, it's so hard, especially when you want to make sure you're on top of everything, you don't miss any opportunities, or if there's something that you're working on that's coming up, you want to make sure that you've got everything sorted and you're seeing everything that's coming in. So yeah, I definitely understand that. So the final question is about the planet and community, because obviously Interviewland is very much inspired by nature. As you can see, we're out in nature now. So I wondered, what is one thing that you do or practice regularly to make the world a better place?
I think this is like a small thing, is slowing down and paying attention to people and things around me. And I've noticed that that's helped a lot, because slowing down is why I was able to, say hi and crack up conversations with the man that owns the corner shop downstairs, or crack up conversations with the people that work at the co-op. We're besties now. They gave me flowers the other day. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Slowing down is why, like, when I walk, I avoid the slugs and the snails that are like going along, because I don't want to trudge on them,
No.
Or saying hello and thank you to the bus driver, or when the postie posted my mail through the thing, shouting a thank you through the door. It's just like, because I took time to really just stop for a moment, stop being so wrapped up in whatever else it is that is driving us, take focus away from, I don't know, our peers and our planet or whatever, because it's hard living in this late stage capitalistic hellscape where it feels like they want us to be disconnected from each other and from our energies and all of that. It's so bad. But slowing down helps a lot. Slow down, pay attention to people, realize that they're all just kind of trudging along as well, and smile at them a little bit, say hi. And I feel like it's not much, but it's one thing I definitely do every single day.
I think it's important. I think it's like you said, that sense of community that isn't really there, especially in a digitalized world. Everyone looks to the internet to try and find a community, but it's not the same. And I think slowing down is very important. It does give space for all of the other stuff to come with it.
Because you start to pay attention a bit more. Because I wouldn't say that I've always been this community focused. There was a time where I was really struggling with just the way everything ended up working out for myself. But I took some time to purposely just stop a little bit and take stock of what's around me, and then you notice so many things. And I think that paying attention and noticing is the first step to then actively engage.
I agree with that. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like it's been very interesting, and I've agreed with everything you said, really. So
I'm glad.
I think we're definitely very similar minded on a lot of things, especially with the planet and people. So it's been very interesting.
It has been nice. I've enjoyed it as well, because I'm glad to talk about these things, and I feel like I want to talk about it more.
Yeah.
And that the Substack article was a start.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was gonna get some flack for it, but I actually started writing it in the pub.
Okay, as you should.
I went to the bar, sat on my own, and it's a bad habit, or maybe a good habit.
Okay.
I kind of sit in the bar in a little corner and I just watch it.
No, I do that as well. I'm always people watching all the time.
And then I get to writing, and someone sat with me, and I was like, do you know any words that, you know, are synonyms for this word?
Yeah.
And they helped me, and they're like, oh, are you writing about the way the left is eating itself up? And I was like,
interesting.
not specifically, but it applies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And it's so interesting to see how many people can like interpret what I've written depending on, it is quite like inflammatory words, and I did that on purpose because it gets people like that little shock, and hopefully it means it sticks in their heads.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Like, keeps spinning and spinning and spinning around. But that's my start, and I'm gonna just keep talking about it until eventually people are nice to each other.
Yes, yeah, that's what we need.
Because I'm sick of it. I'm like, please
me
be
too.
nice to each other. We really have like billionaires trying to blow up our fucking planet. Stop. No.
Yeah, and look at it, like the planet's so beautiful, you know.
It's
We've
so
got so
beautiful.
much around us, so much beauty, so much nature. We
Yeah.
need to connect with it and respect
We
it.
do.
Yeah.
And like this year they didn't cut the grass early for the summer.
Okay.
So we've got butterflies. I don't know if you've noticed any butterflies at all this year.
I haven't. Well, probably more so when I was at home rather than in Glasgow.
Yeah, but like
yeah, maybe
last
a
year
couple.
I didn't see a single one
Yeah.
in Glasgow. But this year I've seen 3.
Well, there
Which
you go. An improvement. An
Yeah,
improvement.
and it's because they took time and they slowed down and they paid
Yeah.
attention. And it's like, cute.
Yeah, that's what we need.
And we just need to all do that in our daily lives, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
there we go.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.